Try to get as close to the center as possible, but it's not real critical, but these are where the lightning hole is going to be, okay? These are going to be 1/4 inch radiuses, or sorry, 1/8 inch radius. So we're going to drill those with a 1/4 inch, pilot drill, and then I have a bunch of 1/4 inch drill bits there. Just to expedite, I'm going to use a unibit. And if you want to, you can use a unibit too. But on here, we're going to cut out, right? And here, the black line, if you think about it, this is the finished size, right? So it's kind of like I want to somewhat cut out the black, right? But, so what I'm just going to do is kind of come in here where it's still silver, and I'm going to center punch that part, okay? I'm going to center punch that part, okay? How do I keep on trying to say, hey, if you leave enough metal, you can always remove. Right. If you remove too much, you can't add it, okay? So now, sorry. I'm just looking to kind of get to the black, or into that black pipe. So I'll show you real quick. See how I got to the black, but I didn't go past it. Okay. Now, for these two, I want to remove all the black. We can go bigger because this is going to get to be punched out to a 1 inch hole. Okay, and we got to be able to fit the bolt that's going to hold this through there. Okay, so we want to remove all of the black and maybe even a little bit more. Okay. Make sense? Okay. I cut off the black lines, right? Because we want it to be like that size. So there, I'm fine. Okay. So now I'm just going to take some snips, right? And, I got the straight snips out and such. Now, when you go to cut these, remember, just like scissors, far enough in. Don't go like this, okay? Because you do that, you start warping the metal, okay? So, and I'm going to just cut on the black line. So this is not the finished size, okay? This is going to be bigger than what we need, okay? But then we need to trim it down, but, well, you'll see. Okay, so come in here, like I said, kind of leave the black line on this one. But like I said, we're getting just kind of the rough shape, okay? Now, I'm going to come up this one, and I'm cutting straight up to the hole. I did snip it, okay? Same thing here. Cut into the hole. Now I can start removing some of that excess. Okay, now to try to get in here, yeah, I can, but hand me the silver. Okay, both the silver and black, they're what's called nibblers. And now I can come in here and just start nibbling away that metal.
So you get inside. Like a nail clipper.
Yeah. Well, are we good there?
Yeah.
All right. Now, people will go, oh, what about those? You can knock them off with your fingers and stuff like that, you know, but it's not that critical. So, you can do the 1/4 inch, you can do the snips like at your table and stuff like that. And then when you go to do these, you could come over here and, you know, you already have your pilot holes and stuff. And really where the tape goes is pretty much where we want to end up.
Got it. Nice and easy.
Okay. Use the last 2 tables back there, like one here, to kind of set up some of the equipment in that, because we're totally full. Yeah. Now, when we come here, we have 2 sets of the dies. Okay. Now, the dies have 2 cap screws, right? That the aluminum block are recessed for those heads. Okay. It's hard to see, but that one says L, that one says R. This is the top, that's the left, that's the right. Also verify that on the side, it says L and L, okay? So when you come over, you're going to remove the 2 cap screws, okay? You lift up, you put it down, and remember which side's the left side, okay? If you can't, you can mark it if you want, but if you look at the straight edge is your left side, okay? So I'm just going to place it down over the holes, and where the bend begins should kind of be lined up with the block, okay? Place this on top. And kind of gauge it before you tighten it all the way down, that, you know, okay, about even amount of material there, right? Okay, roughly even. That looks a little long, but I should be good, all right? So now I'm going to tighten it up fully. Then we take it and we put it into the vise.
This is the hard part.
Now, can you identify which way you're going to bend the metal?
Someone tells me this way.
Very good. And what tells you that?
There's an arrow and bend next to it.
Yes, it says bend that way. Okay. What happens is people put this one on that side. Huh? You know, so it's critical that we have the blocks in the right way and that the metal's in the right way. Because if I had the metal the other way, I've now done it wrong. Okay? Take the hammer. Start folding it over. Okay. Once I start getting it more over, right, then when I hit, I'm not hitting straight down, I'm going to pushing it.
Right. Oh, that's a technique. It's got years of experience, but it's gonna...
When I was a baby, this is how I used to use my pinky. Because the top we're actually going to cut down to a 1/2 inch.
Okay.
That's more than a 1/2 inch, you know. And as long as, you know,
Okay.
we're all good there. All right. We take it.
Good.
And we flip it over.
It's gonna be my piece.
And if we flip it over the right way,
There we have another bend mark. That way.
Yeah, I bet.
okay, and
Bob, let me get that piece. Let me get that.
That's good.
Let me get that piece.
Alright, well, very good glad we get this right.
now when you're bending it this way, you know, it is almost best you kind of work the middle because it's going to spread out this way. So if I start hitting this one in, I'm going to get a big, see how I got that buckle there? Okay.
How do you fix
So, but if you start here and work your way out,
Oh. So the middle first and expand it.
Yeah.
To the corners. That's the art, man.
and we're really just getting it into the rough shape. Later, we can smooth it out. We can do all these other things.
That middle's still a little. Work in the middle.
Cheers, buddy.
Wait. Here we go.
You get slides on too.
Bro, how you lost it? How you lost already, bro? We all here, bro. What are you?
And when you're done forming it, right, make sure, you know, kind of set it back up how it's supposed to be, left on left, and so we got the rough shape so far.
Yup.
Okay? All right. So now, in the drawing, the top, right, this flange here, needs to be a 1/2 inch. Okay? The reason why it needs to be a 1/2 inch is for when we do the bead and other things, right? If it's bigger, the shaft and the wheel that we're running it through is a 1/2 inch. Okay? If it's bigger, this part will start bending up and you'll get a big crease around here. Okay? We're not riveting anything to it and stuff like that. So I'm a little more forgiving on this aspect, but we want it to be close to a 1/2 inch. So you kind of mark out that line. What I'm going to do, and if you want, you could even take a marker and darken it. I'm going to open it up to 0.5. And then I usually just pull this up against my body, and then I just pull this along. And then you can see the 1/2 inch line. Right? Go back to the snips. This one is fun, right? And this is where we really don't want to go like this because then you're making a jagged edge. Okay. And what I'm looking at is my edge of the shears to my line. it's about a 1/2 inch. I think they got a little short there. Yeah, but it's pretty close, right? You can then what? File, and it's soft aluminum and stuff, they'll go pretty quick. Good. The bottom is more critical because we're going to get rivets through here. Okay? So if you really screw this up, the rivets are going to be too close to the edge or this or that and stuff like that. But this is going to be 5/8. So I'm going to adjust it to 0.625. And notice I'm going against here, right? Because that's kind of where we want the 5/8 from. And I would say, for you, like kind of make sure that you leave that line there, where then you know you didn't go too shallow, because then you can remove that excess. So can you see just by shearing it, it's deformed again. But this is when, it's soft enough that we can, smooth it out and stuff a little bit with hand. And this is why, when you're over there and you're like pounding it, as long as you got it somewhat, because understand, you're going to, you got it perfect over there and you're like, oh my God, look how good. You come over here, you're moving it again. Okay, so the next step is we're going to put 2 lightning holes in. The 1/2 inch is going to go up against the die. Okay, and so when we even roll it, meaning beat it, we're going to use the 1/2 inch edge as our guide, because where I want to cut this out right in the center of this piece. Well, what I did was I calculated what's the radius of that, okay? And that's our wet. That's the center part. So if I put this up against there, it's going to cut a hole in between here, in the center. So now we want to cut this hole out, okay? Now, personally, I like to have a little bit more space here, okay? So that when you run the bead, it's not just this real short thing. So when I put it in, and I lower this, I'm looking at the die to just hit kind of the metal of that hole, okay? And I'm going to come down all the way, right? And lift up, take both sides, kind of wiggle, 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 and we now have a lightning hole, okay?
It's gonna make an indent.
But where did the piece of metal go? So, before you do the next one, take the scribe and remove, okay? And you can see where the hole was, right? How it was like there. And see how I went really on down further. I didn't cut that hole out perfectly because I want a little bit of space there, okay? When I go to do the other one, same thing. I'm putting the 1/2 inch up against this side.
So you said
I'm looking at this point there when I come down, and it's just hitting like the edge of it.
So not perfect. You don't want it perfectly lined up.
Right. I'm pushing this metal that way.
Okay.
And see how the hole is right there? I'm not here. I'm going like that.
Okay.
Okay. Once again, all the way down. And they go in the cup. Okay. Now, the other reason 1/2 inch down. That way, the lightning holes are flanged the proper direction. If you come in and go, oh, hey, you could do it, but then guess what? The lightning holes are wrong, okay? Because the lightning holes, they're flanged this way, the bead is going to be upwards. So, once we flange it, we come over to the beading tool, okay? And you can see the protrusion is on the bottom and the cavity is up on top. Once again, I'm using the 1/2 inch side as my guide. To do this one here and this one, right? What I'm going to do is, tighten it up until they touch. You don't have to, right? I line up the 1/2 inch side there, and then slowly I crank. And what I'm looking at is I'm looking inside here to see when the bead touches but does not deform the flange. Okay. Now, I can't really put it this way because if you look where the bead is, this is the center line, okay? If you try to do it over here, your bead's way, way off. So I gotta do this side. I can't put it in this way. I come in this way now. And I'm keeping the 1/2 inch up against the die and using it as a guide. And I can put like my finger there. Okay, I still can feel that there's a gap. Okay, there we go. It just touched and I back it out.
Can you leave, put it in if you feel like you need more? Or?
You could try. Okay. So now I got those two. Now I got to do the center. To get it in there, I got to loosen it up quite a bit. Okay. I'm using the 1/2 inch on this side. I put it over and past, right? So I have it hard against the die with the 1/2 inch side. I have the bead kind of touching and I start tightening it up. Yeah, I mean, that's the 1/2 inch. I mean, I'm aligning that to there, okay? Now, once it kind of like is grabbing, then we're going to turn it 1.5 turns. Because right now, the bead is kind of pushing up against the metal and the cove is like this, but it's stuck. If you roll it right now, you don't get no bead. So we gotta tighten it up to get to the bead. So there's a 1/2, 1, 1.5. Okay. So now what I'm watching is really, I'm watching right here to make sure that the 1/2 inch is along that edge. Because that's what I'm following. Okay. Now, if I push too much, it's going to bend out the 1/2 inch. Okay? If I have a huge gap,
that's moving it too, right?
yeah, this is what's rolling, turning, and rolling it through. See, if I go like this, see, I'm just holding this to guide it in.
Oh, I see.
Okay, now I see that hit. Now, when I take this off, right, I wanted to show you. See what I did right there? Yeah, that ain't too bad, but I was off here. So if you're off and you go, oh, right? But I only have so much room there. If I would have kept on going, yeah. So you might have noticed when I first set it up, I didn't have the 1/2 inch right up against it. Okay, and If I did, it would have been here and came around. But I left that little gap so that you can see that, hey, now, you know, if you have that, honestly, it's more cosmetic than anything, okay? So, now we have that, right? So, for today, and by the way, this is still annealed, right? But the big picture is then, hopefully today, you have the window cut out. You might have made the stringer yesterday. You got the bulkhead made, right? Then when that's done, then we use the slip roll former to kind of roll the metal, right? And you're going to get all three pieces where you can, not drill, but clamp and check to see all three pieces to say, okay, I like this, okay? If at that point you might go, everything looks so good, but I don't like that. You know, let me make another one. Or, the stringer eye was up. You know what? All my other pieces came out, but when I cut the metal, like I got a square corner on the window, you know, not that I'm going to always say, you know, if you do something enough that I know you can't proceed, then I'll say, yes, you got it. But if you cut like a little square corner in that at the beginning, I'll say, no, keep going, get the three pieces made, now let's look at it. And if you then want to go, okay, let me make a new skin, you'll realize it doesn't take long to make the skin over again. Right. After you've done this and done that, it doesn't take too long to make a new bulkhead. But, you know, and that way you can judge yourself and say, yes, I got the pieces that I like and stuff. And I'll shut up now because I think I gave you enough information. Are we good? Yeah.